Part of the revenue operating system is there is a module in the Survey the Mountain section. It's one of the foundational modules, number 4, on purpose. The purpose movement, I think, it's been around for a while, but it really accelerated over the last few years. And just hear about this all the time now is something that's just of critical importance for people who are self-employed to connect into that purpose, find it, make it really meaningful, and build a company around it and speak about that purpose as opposed to just the product, and to connect to an audience that shares their vision and values and purpose. And that's what that challenge climb is all about. I bought into this totally. It's very helpful for me. I think it's incredibly effective for other people. But there's a problem. And the problem is that people slip into using purpose for marketing purposes as opposed to finding their purpose because it informs and animates them and their life. I don't think people are deliberately trying to deceive others. Some are. But I think what's more common is a misunderstanding of the difference between coming from a business marketing point of view and coming from a deeper, truly identified, found, defined, usable purpose statement and the exploration that has to go into that. For example, I saw somebody's website and LinkedIn profile that's involved in purpose. And I took a look and looked at it more deeply. And what I realized is this individual does seminars for corporations to help them find their purpose. And I thought, I'd love to be in the room for one of those. I just have this picture of people in the marketing department, in the branding group, and maybe the ad agency comes in, and maybe they do bring in the executive team, and they brainstorm what their purpose is. And it's done up here in their head, meaning that because there's no true purpose coming up through internal exploration, at the end of the day, they just have a new, more effective marketing strategy. And that's not the point of this. So the idea here, I think a lot of it was popularized by Simon Sinek, and start with why. TED Talk video, I think everybody's probably seen it by now, but if you haven't, look it up. Just look up his name on YouTube and say purpose video, and it'll show up. How great leaders inspire everyone to take action. So it's a marketing secret weapon, and that's why people use it improperly, because it works. Now, one of the things he talks about is, the difference between real purpose and fake purpose used in a marketing for marketing purposes. And it's, you build loyalty and deep relationships with customers when you start with why, as he calls it, which means you start with purpose. And I'm not going to go into calls the golden circle. You can look that up. He'll do a better job explaining it than I will, but you did look that up if you haven't. Make sure you understand what I'm talking about here. And then the people who don't, who just strip everything down to the techniques that work. And in chapter 2 of the book, he's got something called carrots and sticks: manipulation versus inspiration. So when a company goes through their purpose roundtable, are they manipulating with the information that they get, or are they inspiring with the information they can get? I think you already know my answer to it. Everything's commoditized, which leads to transactional strategies. So what he's saying here is that you pretty much find anything for the same price, about the same quality, about the same level of service, and about the same features. So if you're a consultant or a coach or a service provider, you're one of thousands. You got nothing. You got nothing different. in what you do. So you think of his golden circle idea, the why is at the middle. That's different. Your why is different. You're the only one who has your why. No one else can have your why. Your purpose is you. It's part of your core. That's what this is all about. This is Mark Twain's quote. Most important day you're born, most important day of your life is when you're born. Second most important day is when you discover why. You're the only one who can discover that why. That makes you totally different. And people will know that when you really understand it. You found it, you find it, you've made it laser sharp, you know how to talk about it, and you build a company around it. That's what he's talking about. So people hear manipulation versus inspiration. Inspiration people are rarer. And they've purpose-driven people, and they've done this. They're doing it right. The manipulation people are pretending to do it, whether they realize that or not. And they're basing it in a approach that uses techniques coming from how and what, which are in the outside of the circle. Whereas what most people start, they talk about what it is and how it works as opposed to why it matters. So they're going the wrong order. And he explains that in his video. And what that leads to is transactional relationships and need to increase marketing budgets, increase sales effort. And that applies for like a solo self-employed consultant too. You got to spend more time getting customers. You got to cut through, you got to sell, you got to differentiate. All these things don't work very well. So you're frustrated and you don't get to that summit. So here's the different categories that he's talking about. So, you know, manipulation versus inspiration. One is price. If you don't have that why, you have to play the price game. So you put out a mastermind for $5,000 and nobody will pay. Well, you discount it to 2,500. What's wrong? You got to price it right for your market. And if the right price is $5,000, and you know it'll deliver what it needs to deliver, 10x, 20x, 30x, $5,000 in value, don't discount the price. It'll lead to a transactional marketing and sales approach, which will not get you the deep kind of connection or relationship and attraction that you want. Maybe a little harder, you know, but you gotta get to that why. You've gotta get into that purpose, as opposed to manipulating people with price discounting. Promotions is another one. So how much time and money do you have to spend on incentives to get people to do anything? They get addicted to incentives. He talks about General Motors here with just destroying their profit margins, where they're actually losing, it says right here, $729 per vehicle sold. General Motors lost money because they rebated like crazy to get product to move, because they had no connection at a certain point in their history. They used to, but they lost their purpose and their brand connection with their customer, which they'd had when they started the company. I mean, GM's cars really stood for something. Here's another one, which is fear. Fear. So creating, you know, sometimes it's called FUD. There you go. Fear, uncertainty, and doubt. No one ever got fired for hiring IBM. When fear is employed, facts are incidental, deeply seated in our biological drive to survive. That emotion cannot be quickly wiped away with facts and figures. A powerful manipulator. Fear is used with less nefarious motivations often. It's designed to scare people to buy. And it works. But does it get you into that elite group of people who start with why in the golden circle? The answer, of course, is no. You don't need to manipulate people with fear if you're inspiring them with your vision and your purpose. Aspirations. So this is another one in here. So aspirations is, you know, if fear motivates us to move away from something horrible, aspirational messages tempt us towards something desirable. If you start with why, you're already there. You're not manipulating through aspirational marketing. You're just there. You're going to inspire people. But marketers talk often about the importance of being aspirational, offering someone something they desire and the ability to get there more easily. 6 steps to a happier life. Work those abs to your dream dress size. In 6 short weeks, you can be rich. All these messages manipulate, and it works, or people wouldn't keep doing it. But does it get where you want to get? Yeah, you can sell, you can have transactional sales, but it'll never end. Your marketing budget will go more up and up and up, and your sales time will go up and up, and people will leave you, and they'll be comparing you against other people, pushing your price down all the time. They're most effective with people who have lack of discipline, nagging fear, insecurity, that want quick fix results, which they're not going to get because you can't coach someone into quick fix results, and you know that, and you can't provide services to get people quick fix results. So what's the outcome of this? It's you don't have a group of people advocating for you, telling everybody this changed my life, working with you. What you have are people who walk away dissatisfied when you're using aspirational marketing to manipulate people to work with you. Now, here's another one, peer pressure. One of the most effective ways of manipulating people is with social proof. I see this all the time. People who created something that worked 5 years ago that no longer works. And it used to work, but it doesn't anymore. They use the testimonials from 5 years ago to get more people to pay them money to do something that they know full well doesn't work. That's not starting with why. That's manipulating through peer pressure. We're all susceptible to that. It works. You don't want to use case studies to manipulate people to buy from you. You want inspired people whose lives you changed, whose lives you helped transform, talking about themselves and the transformation they got from working with you. If you see a testimonial and the person's talking about the person and saying, you know, Joe is the best coach I've ever met. He's unbelievable. His coaching program is like this and does this and so on. And you should definitely work with Joe. That smells like a manipulative marketing approach to peer pressure. Contrast to this, somebody who says, my life changed after I met Joe. Everything is different now. I feel better. I'm more successful. I'm happier, and I'm making more money. That's real. Nobody is going to say that if they don't really, really mean it. And if it didn't really happen, that's not manipulation, peer pressure. That's using people in your community who really care about them, what they got out of working with you, and really believe in you, your why, believe in your why, to talk about it. Now, novelty and innovation is another problem. So with services, it's probably less important, but with software in particular, so I don't know how relevant this is to you because most people here are not in the software business, but the problem is you have to innovate all the time. And then the minute you innovate, you come up with new features, somebody copies you. So Motorola's Razor, he uses, I don't know if you remember that phone, but it was like innovation. People loved it. They bought it like crazy. And then Motorola couldn't keep innovating, again, marketing manipulation in a way, with the product being one of the P's of marketing, of manipulating the buyer to keep buying because there was another better phone, as opposed to Apple, where Apple has a why behind everything they do. And Simon Sinek explains that in a lot of detail in his video as well as in the book. And people are buying from Apple because they believe in the dream. They believe Apple's there thinking differently and providing people a way forward. They're inspiring them. And the products, you know, they have to innovate, but they don't have to innovate their way out of a transactional mindset. So they are not in the transactional business like Motorola is. So there's a big difference there. And Simon Sinek explains that better than I can. The way I just wrap that part up is that if you have to create a new feature to be different than your competition, you're going to fail. You can't keep it up. And your competitors are going to copy you immediately if you are a great innovative company. If you start with purpose, you're going to build a loyal customer base. And even if your products are not consistently laden with new features, people feel an emotional connection to your company and your products. They're going to buy the next one from you as opposed to switching to somebody else who has a new feature in the software or whatever it is. Check out the Purpose Challenge Climb if you've already done it. Hopefully this helps you understand it better and how to use it. I want to conclude here that understanding these marketing tricks and tactics is important. Understanding them is really important. You got to get great at marketing. So you want to use these things, but you don't want to be manipulative in how you use them. You want to be inspiring, but you need to understand what people need to make decisions. And there's nothing wrong with that. People are trying to poke holes in everything. Oh, that was manipulative. They're frauds. They don't really have a purpose. Well, so what? Some people are going to say that no matter what, because they're cynical. And that's not what you're looking for. You're going to find your little group that believes what you're saying if it's true. And you're going to need to help them make decisions to work with you, which is what these different categories of what could be used for manipulation are all about. Simon Sinek's videos are great. You can certainly read his book as well. It was helpful for me, but I didn't read this entire book. I felt like after a while, I was like, I got it. It's not that complicated. The Golden Circle kind of tells you the whole thing. So I didn't really finish it, or I'm not going to read his other books, but I have a lot of respect for what he's doing. I just felt like a lot of it was just repetitive, and I didn't really need to learn anything more. I was already starting to do it, and then I'm doing it now. So I have this starting with why approach because it's there. I found it and I believe it and it's real. And now many other people believe it. I am using these kinds of approaches in the market that I just described, but I'm not trying to manipulate anybody. I'm trying to help them make a decision. Let's finish it with one example to make this really clear. So the example of social proof of peer pressure. I'm using peer pressure. I'm having people in our community whose life was changed and impacted do videos explaining this was great, it was great, it was great, because it works. But I'm not using it to manipulate people into buying because it's not a fraudulent marketing piece. There's something real underneath it. So that's the difference. So hopefully that makes sense.